right, y'all, get ready for another edition of Newz and Trendz with your host, Dave and Lynn.
Welcome to another edition of Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. I'm Dave Coker, one of your hosts and promoter and event planner, and I'm sitting here with my partner, Mr. Leonard Young. Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, how you doing? This is Leonard Young, CEO of National Black Guide, media specialist and all-around good guy. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, I'm here, man. I'm here. I want to give a special shout-out to DJ Tim Dog for an intro, and DJ Tim Dog, yeah. We have to make sure we get a shout-out. This is, if we don't, we get shot. Anyway, so we want to make sure that we support our brother,
right?
One of the top DJs in the tri-state area.
The People's Champ, right?
Yeah, the People's Champ.
Okay.
There you go, the People's Champ. But anyway, how was your week?
Man, it was good. No complaints. A nice, quiet weekend at home and just try to catch up on some work. Rest and relax. Caught up on some shows. I watched Hawkeye on
the new series
one.
on
That was pretty good. And I mean, other than that, just relax.
Okay, all right.
What about you?
Well, actually, let me see. I'm trying to think. The week was such a blur. I mean, you figure we leave here, we do the show, we figure we got a whole week before we see each other again. It seems like it's a couple days, don't it? It just goes by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
The weekend was good. Actually, we've been blessed with some decent weather. I mean, considering the time of year. So, that's been a blessing. So hopefully it'll continue that way for a little bit longer. I don't know what Christmas is going to look like yet, but we'll see.
Hopefully not too cold.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a mild winter. So we'll go from there. But, we want to thank everyone who is tuning in to us and joining with us today. And for those that have been following us and listening to the podcast, we really appreciate each and every one of you. If you hear anything today that you want to comment about or feel free, you want to throw some things out there to us, feel free to go ahead and put it in our chat area. Make your comments and everything, and we will do our best to try to get back to you. Hopefully, we see you during the show. We'll comment about it. You'll hear our comments about it. But, we want to thank you once again for tuning in with us.
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you like us. Make sure you follow us. Social media, we're on Facebook. Make sure you like us on Podbean. And we are coming to all major podcast platforms. So Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. Share with a friend.
Yep, that's right. There you go. My man over there rhyming. Listen to him, y'all. He's ready to do 16 bars for you. You got to listen to him, all right?
Maybe like 4 bars.
Okay, 4 bars. 4. Okay, all right.
Well,
let's get into it, man. What we got to talk about today?
So the first thing, of course, we definitely want to send our condolences to anybody who was affected by the tornadoes that went through, the Midwest, Kentucky, and I guess parts of Tennessee.
Right.
Watching that aftermath, and I think us being here in Delaware, we're kind of lucky because we don't see a lot of it. But there have been certain circumstances where, I think it was last year. I know there was a roof that got blown off a house, but widespread like it was in Kentucky. We, at least not in my lifetime, I've not seen that here in Delaware.
Well, it's interesting when you see these type of natural disasters and, these hurricanes and these tornadoes. And it's really weird because being here in Delaware, we have been kind of shielded from those type of things. I mean, every now and then we'll get bad storms or whatever the case may be, but nothing to the destruction that we saw there in Kentucky and in the surrounding areas, or in the past, like, what's happened down in Louisiana on a couple different occasions and so forth.
The flooding.
With the flooding and so forth. So, I mean, up until recently during the summer when we had that flooding, that went on around. It went on. Well, it hit some parts of Delaware, where we had some flooding and whatever, but not to the degree that it hit outside of here, And so it's just interesting. And so, yes, we definitely have to give a shout out to those people, especially the ones that have lost their lives there. but I know I saw some of the footage on what was going on there, and I was just like, wow, that's crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's, when you look at these things, and, I think back to Jamaica with the couple of hurricanes they had there, and seeing the destruction in Haiti.
Yeah. Haiti always gets it bad. It seems like they have to rebuild, their whole country about once
all
every
the
year.
time. Yeah. And these are not just bad storms. The destruction that happens from these storms, it reminds you of the story of the three little pigs, with
right. Huff and puff.
Yeah, right. Down. Yeah, because, that house of brick, seemed like a very smart idea, when you look at it. And, that's why when you look at these new houses that are being built these days, and you look at how quickly they put them up, and, everything's prefab, and, and they put them up so fast. And you wonder what's going to happen when a natural disaster comes through, like a hurricane or a blizzard or something like that, and how well the house is going to hold up. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, prior to the pandemic, there was some bad storms that came through. And I know a friend of mine's brother's house, he had posted pictures on Facebook. He lived down in Middletown. Half of the house was missing on the side.
Wow.
Because everything, the wind blew everything apart. And his house is less than 10 years old, and, it just tells you a lot that, and then some of these older houses that are built with all wood and mostly, that do not have the, heavy brick foundation to it.
Right.
Those are the houses that you see that are really getting
definitely.
messed up,
Plus, with the tornadoes, it's always weird. So, of course, in Alabama, they talk about that Tornado Alley. And I was watching this show, and, of course, they were just kind of documenting the tornadoes coming through, specifically through trailer parks, and how they would just take those trailers, like if they were not bolted down, they would take them and literally like slingshot them across the park. So
really,
yeah, definitely serious. And
so is everything bolted down there?
Yeah. So like where we are, all of our trailers, and it's pretty much regulation that trailers have to be bolted down. So either, and I know it sounds funny and it looks a little crazy, they'll literally have a metal strap going over the trailer that's bolted down, or they'll have a concrete pad under the trailer, and the frame will be bolted down that way. So, definitely a safety precaution. And, but, the reason why I mentioned this, Dave, is because, I was reading an article, and, I think I can kind of relate on both sides, but, definitely on, the victim side. But so there was a factory in Kentucky, and when the hurricane was coming, some of the emergency sirens went off, right? So, of course, as an employee, you hear the emergency siren, you're like, okay, time to close up shop. Let me get ready to go home. The supervisor or manager at this plant told them that if they leave, they are likely to get fired. Okay? So, we already know what that sounds like. So, of course, the employees, they did not want to lose their jobs, so a lot of them stayed. As they stayed, they kind of sheltered in place and hunkered down and all that. And, of course, the tornado ripped through that factory. So I don't know if you can see the pictures here.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Before and after,
right, yeah.
Of course, a lot of employees died. And now, people are looking at the supervisors and managers and maybe even the owner.
Are they all still alive?
I'm not
the
sure.
People that made these calls?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But, regardless, people are looking at just the institution of that workplace as, okay, there's a safety matter going on, and you're trying to discourage your employees from leaving so they can continue working. Which is just crazy. So, and what it kind of made me think about, of course, we don't have tornadoes like that, but it kind of made me think about snow.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times here in Delaware, we'll get snow, and it's sometimes supposed to be big. And sometimes the employees don't let you off when you think you should be getting off based on what's forthcoming.
Yeah.
Now, you probably know better than I do, but like how do you feel, working where you work and hearing what's coming, opposed to, what your supervisors and managers are saying if you were to leave early.
Well, let me say this. I'm a person that works for the state, and of course, we get kidded a lot that the state is off at the drop of a hat or whatever the case may
Right.
be. And one thing I will say, working for the state as a state employee, shout out to all my state employees out there. You know how we would get when we think snow's coming our way.
Mm-hmm.
All of us. Look, half of us don't wake up early any other time, but
Right.
we wake up early to check those
Yep.
reports when
Exactly.
snow's heading our way, and because we want to find out if we're going to be off or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, for the state, not for us, but for the state, we haven't had those kind of snows over the last few years that we have been off a lot. Just very sparingly have we been
definitely.
off. But the thing that has upset us, and I'm sure other people that work as well, is that we have been at work when there's been really heavy snow coming down, and we'll end up working most of the day, and then they'll say, okay, we're getting ready to send you guys home.
We're saying at the end of the day.
Yeah, towards the end of the day. Like, it's been a couple times, like, our normal day is 8 to 4:30. 3:30, they'll send us home, and of course everybody else is on the road at the time because
Right.
other people have been sent home too. And it gets really crazy out there because everybody's trying to get home. Now, I live 10, 12 minutes away from my job. I know a couple years ago there was a downpour. They sent us home at 3:30, somewhere around that. Took me 45 minutes to clean my car off because of all the snow that was on the car. That's how much snow was coming down before they made this call. And it took me 2 hours to get home.
Damn.
2 hours to
Hold
get
on.
home.
So did you take a different route than you normally did?
No,
So
I took
you
the
took
same,
the same route you normally
route
take. Wow.
My route from my job to my house is pretty much a straight out ride, except for one right hand turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose to go the main road instead of taking the back road because I didn't know what was going on back there. So I took the main road to stay, to make sure I see everything in case there were plows out, whatever the case may be. 2 hours to get home.
Hold on. So it took you 45 minutes to clean off your car.
And another
2 hours to get home.
on the road.
Right. So normally you would have got off at 4:30, been home by 4:45.
Oh, I could be home by 4:45.
So, but this day you got off at 3:30.
And still got home.
Like 7 o'clock.
Actually got home later than that I would have. So,
Right.
But that's typical when we have these bad weather warnings and announcements that are coming our way. Like, we're getting ready to get into the dead of winter. Everybody reads the almanac and say, oh, okay, Delaware's supposed to get hit this year or whatever. We brace ourselves and wait for the snow. But like I said, we haven't really had any bad snows of late. Knock on plastic. I'm not on wood, but I'm knock on plastic at the moment. But I'm just saying that if I was in Kentucky and, I'm sitting there and I'm hearing this and, what about the people that called out?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Because they took heed to what was being said. Hey, look,
definitely.
You probably should get your family, go somewhere else, or if you have a storm cellar or
Right.
or have a basement that you can call a safe or whatever the case may be, just get yourself together and do what you need to do to be safe. Work, don't go to work. Call out. But then if you got these bosses telling you, hey, look,
right, you'll be fired.
You'll be fired if you leave. I wonder what they said to the people that called out.
I mean, they probably didn't say anything. So, looking at the article, it says that, so there was one guy who specifically went to his manager and said, hey, I would like to leave. He said, I would like to leave, but they told me I'd be fired. Even with the weather like this, he said, you're still going to fire me? The manager said yes. Right? And they said that the other managers at the facility started taking roll call of all the employees to see who left.
Okay.
I mean, which is just crazy.
All right.
Now, the company denied, of course, that, that was said, but
But all we have to wait is for it to pop up on TMZ with the recording.
Yeah.
Because somebody recorded that
definitely,
conversation.
definitely.
Somebody, look, first of all, I'm not walking. If I hear that from another employee that person said that, the next thing I'm doing is I'm going in that office. And I'm going to have my phone on, and I'm going to have the same conversation with that person.
Right. Now, have you ever been in a situation? I mean, 'cause like with the snow, I'll tell you, it's funny because here in Delaware, up north, everyone assumes that people can just drive in the snow. So like I know some people are not great drivers, period. Like how do you feel looking at the amount of snow coming down, knowing what that projected forecast is, and having your boss telling you, nope, not time to go yet? Like, is there ever a point where you just make a decision?
Well, another thing I'm going to say about working for the state, we have options. We can flex our time, or we can take paid time off if we had to leave, if we felt comfortable. And we have some people, like my job, we have a lot of people who are transient people who have moved here from other places. And like I have a pretty close friend at the job. She moved here from New York. She didn't learn how to drive until she got here.
Right.
And she bought her first car when she got here. So she's been here about 6 years now. So, and she's still not 100% comfortable driving.
Driving, period. Right, on regular
now
roadways.
You're talking about, so when rain comes and snow comes, she gets a little nervous. So usually what happens is that, people like her or some other people that may not be that comfortable with driving will leave.
Yeah.
Say, hey, look, I'm sorry, I gotta go. I can't be out there driving in this stuff, and I'm not, I don't like driving on dry land. You got me driving in this, so, and we have, they have options of being able to use their time or whatever the case may be. But if you're in a situation like what happened in this story that you're talking about, that's crazy because, first of all, they are opening themselves up to a lot of lawsuits.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And especially if people die, if any of those people, well, obviously the person telling the story didn't die, but what if somebody else had that same conversation and they were one of the people that died?
Yeah. Or
what if one of the bosses died?
Yeah, exactly.
That had that conversation with them? So that's a whole can of worms that's about to open.
Definitely.
And Pandora's box is definitely open right now.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what? It also says that so a spokesman for the company said that we've had a policy in place since COVID. Employees can leave anytime they want to leave and then come back the next day, which I'm like, sure. Like, I mean, I
That's because it hit is that NBC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We got to make sure we look good for NBC.
They got to make sure they say everything appropriately.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it is what it is, and I'm sure we haven't heard the end of this because the families with people that were left behind, due to people passing and so forth in this tragedy. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about the lawsuits and everything that's about to happen. Yeah. And unfortunately, it won't bring those people back. But, it is what it is these days. This is what happens when you have these type of situations. We talked about the Astroworld thing recently, a couple weeks ago. And, they're saying that lawsuits are going to come out of that. Billions and billions of dollars. And they're trying to figure out how Travis Scott is going to be able to come back from this. But he's still out on the road performing. Did you see that?
Well, I mean, I also did hear he pulled from a lot of
because there was death threats and everything. I heard that.
He pulled. His sponsors have been dropping him.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to come out with some type of book. Him and one of the Jenners supposed to come out with a book.
Yeah, because they had a picture. They showed the picture that was supposed to be on the cover.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely crazy.
Yeah,
so.
But see, and that's what happens when you have these type of major things that happen. So we want to say to the families and to everyone who may have relatives or anything that might have been affected and friends that might have been affected. I know I was on the phone calling friends and texting friends that I had in Tennessee during this whole thing to make sure that they were all right. Unfortunately, they were fine. They said that there was a lot of rain and stuff in their area, but they didn't get it like what was going on outside of there. So that was good. So
Gotcha. Now, one feel good story I do want to let you know about. So I saw yesterday on social media, and I mean, I think it was on ABC News. It was documented. There was a guy from a neighboring town, maybe a neighboring state. He had one of those big smoker grills, and he loaded up his grill onto the back of his truck. He bought all this meat, and he went to one of these ravaged areas in Kentucky and just started cooking food for the people who were there. Because, he said, okay, if your light's off, that means you don't have no refrigerator, no stove. The restaurants are closed. You may not have a car. You may not have anywhere to get any place to eat. A black man. And I just want to throw that out there for good measure. Yeah. But, I mean, so I'm sure with that, too, I'm sure there are a lot of good Samaritans who are donating food and, even, helping people however they can as well.
Yeah. Well, that's good that we had somebody to think that way and make sure that they feed people, whatever they're, feed people. Hopefully they're not stealing the cows from anybody.
Right.
Or the pigs from anybody, but that's a good gesture and good. We're glad to hear that people are definitely doing that. So, we can, say, praying for you guys down there and, hopefully everything will, get better for you. Okay.
Yep. Now, Dave, I gotta say this next story is kind of near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
Cause I was an athlete growing up, whatever sport it was, football. I got accepted at the University of Delaware to play football, but I decided to decline.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
But, anyway, so, I grew up swimming and, I swam in middle school, high school, college, and, that was my thing. So, recently, I saw something, I almost couldn't even believe it when I saw it. So, of course, we're in Delaware, so it's not even far away. At University of Pennsylvania, there is a swimmer who is breaking all the records, right? So this swimmer's name is Leah Thomas, and this swimmer is a transgender swimmer. So Leah, I'm not sure what the name was before Leah, but I'll just say Leah. So Leah prior was a male, swam 3 years on the University of Pennsylvania swim team, was a good swimmer on the swim team. Recently, Leah transitioned from male to female and is now still on the swim team, but the women's swimming team. Now, the reason why there's a lot of uproar right now is because Leah has been breaking all the records. Everywhere Leah's gone, she's been breaking the meet records, the pool records, the school records. And it has a lot of people feeling a certain way. I know we always hear about, transgenders in sports and how that may affect things. But one article I read said the way it's going, Leah Thomas is going to be headed to the NCAA swimming championships and is most likely to break NCAA records as well as possibly world records for women's swimming. Talking about she will possibly break Katie Ledecky's, some of her records. So, with that said, how do you feel about that? Do you feel it's an unfair advantage, or do you just feel like this is the new way of sports?
Well, I think this is the new way of sports and how we were the sports is definitely heading. I'm trying to be,
we say politically.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to be, because this is something that's been coming for a while with different sports. I know there's been a couple men who transitioned and wanted to play basketball on the women's basketball teams. And so far, they haven't allowed it to happen, but it's coming, just like this happened. I actually know a young lady that is at that's going to school at Duke Medical School, and she was a basketball player in high school, and she is now transitioned into a male and is a male now. And when you look at this, and this is happening on a regular basis, it's going to be hard to say no to everyone that wants to play sports still and be on some type of sports team as the new person that they are now.
Right.
Okay. So how do we stop it from happening? I don't know. We can, because there's going to be the LGBTQT. Wait, did I say that right? GTQ.
Yeah, Q or something.
Oh, we got that all messed up.
Yep. Allegedly.
Okay. I know they're right now they're at the strongest that they ever been. Their voice is like magnificent and loud at the moment. And so whatever, these type of things are definitely being championed, and that they want to make sure that they have all the possibilities and all the same benefits and also get all the accolades and things when it comes to things that they do, like anybody else. So when it's kind of you got to be careful about what side of the fence you're going to jump off of, with this whole subject, because if she is definitely classified as a woman now,
and she is,
then she should be able to compete as a woman. Same thing, vice versa. If a woman to a man has been classified as a man, then they should be able to compete as a man. The only problem is, we know that if you were a man and you become a woman, that you have
an unfair
advantage. And that's why we're going to have the issues that we're going to have. And especially if this person continues to break records, that people, that have been household names, like a Ledecky and
other
Missy Franklin and all these types of people, so, you have to be, it's going to be interesting how they handle it. And first of all, how the Olympics handle it if they decide to try to get into the Olympics.
So looking here, so we've already had somebody in the Olympics who was a transgender. Now
that was from another country, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So right here it says
the weightlifter. Yeah, yep, that's right.
Yep. So the weightlifter was a male transitioning into the female, but this wasn't as big of a controversy because she did not medal.
Right.
Now, if she had medaled and got first place and broke a record, we probably would have heard a lot more of it. But
it still was a little bit, because I remember hearing some of the story. It still was a little bit of a controversy because she made the Olympic team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So she knocked somebody out.
Right. That was legitimately female. You know what I mean? So
and I definitely agree. Like when I was trying to think about this earlier, I was trying to think, okay, what would make it fair? Like, okay, if it's a team sport or so if it's an individual sport, then I just don't see any way to make it fair, because they're probably going to be stronger, faster. Like if we're talking about track, weightlifting, swimming, all these individual sports, I just don't see how it makes sense. And, when I think about my daughter, and my daughter doesn't compete in any athletic sports, but she dances and, does cheerleading. But, when I think of like the athletic sports, how can, in some of these sports, how can a girl compete with somebody who used to be, a boy or a man?
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. Now, one thing I did think about that I think would reset the playing field. Okay, so if we have men's records, women's records, then I could see having a transgender record class as well, which for individual sports, that's the only way I see that working.
They might have to go that way. And actually, that's not a bad thought. Or they're going to have a separate competition.
Yeah. But we already know with a separate competition, I don't know what that spectator view is going to look like because.
Well, it might be big.
I mean, it may be.
Yeah. It may be big because if you have the people who will support that, and we know, they would be supported.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that they can get people to come out to these things. I mean, because think about it. These are people that we're reading about or people that have actually done it. But think about the people that haven't stepped out on faith yet, that want to do it, that have gone through these surgeries and transition. And, we talked about, it's been a lot of controversy about Dwayne Wade's daughter now,
mm-hmm.
who used to be a boy.
Right.
Okay. And what if they wanted to play some type of sport? What if she wanted to follow? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What if she wanted to follow her father's footsteps and wanted to play basketball as a female and excelled at it? Are they going to tell her that she can't play? Given who she is? We don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
Look, it was accepted when Bruce Jenner decided he wanted to become a woman.
But I mean, he wasn't athletics at the time, though. Either.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
But I watched this man in the Olympics.
Yeah,
he was the world's greatest athlete.
Yeah, and he was on point.
Yeah, he was the world's greatest athlete. He won the gold medal. I mean,
right.
in the decathlon, the hardest feat in the Olympics to do. Okay, and now he's walking around as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting that, the whole world that we're in, whatever, not saying that we have any issues with what people decide with their own bodies or whatever the case may be, but, it's still, you still have to look at competition and what's fair and what's not fair.
Yeah. And, I also feel like if there was a transgender class, I'm just trying to think about what that would look like because, okay, individual sports, I can see that. But I wonder, would they be able to get enough for team sports and team sports to have a league? And if there was a league, so, one of the things I think about is, okay, so, before the WNBA started, women wanted the same opportunity to play professional basketball as men. And, of course, that's what the WNBA was founded on. And once it started, and even to this day, the women don't feel like they get paid.
Oh, they don't?
Fairly.
They don't.
And I mean, I know they're comparing it to the men and, they don't feel they get paid fairly. And I can guarantee you, if we had professional transgender sports, I can almost guarantee
they're going to make money.
I feel like they're not going to feel like they get paid fairly.
I think they're going to
they're
going to make money. I'll tell you why. Because then again, that LGBTQ community is very, very powerful right now. And if they pushed it, I think they can get the monies and get the teams to the people to support those teams and everything. So let's just say what's going on with the WNBA. I watch the WNBA, so I'm familiar a lot with what goes on with that. They just got a raise in salary. The last few years, they've gotten a raise in salary. They just pushed their schedule to 36 games, which means they'll get more money during the course of the season. A lot of those players, to make ends meet, right after their regular basketball season is over, they go overseas and play a whole nother season overseas.
Oh, yeah.
So they can make the money. On average, the average salary is anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000, and that's it.
Over here in U.S.
Yeah.
Oh, and to be honest, that's better than what I thought it was.
No, but and they just recently got that way.
Okay.
Now, some of the well-known players, like a Candace Parker or somebody like that, they make, they do pretty well because they have endorsements and they have other jobs that they do, work on ESPN and stuff like that. But their main salary is nothing compared to what an NBA rookie comes in the league and can make a couple $1 million a year and hadn't even played any basketball yet.
Exactly.
When you got an established star in the WNBA that's been doing it 5 or 6 years, and they can't get over $200,000.
So how much do you think Candace Parker makes?
Candace is one of the more higher paid ones in the league. So, and there you go.
Wow.
Tell them what you see.
Okay, so I just Googled it right now.
That's her base salary. Now that doesn't include endorsements.
Yeah, no, but I mean that's just her WNBA. Yeah. So I just Googled it right now,
and Candace Parker. I'm stopping him. Candace Parker is one of the biggest and most well-known players in the league. So her team just won the championship this year. Go ahead, tell them how much she made.
So Candace, hold on. So hold on, Dave. So before we do that, let's see what the NBA minimum salary is.
Okay.
Just so we can do a comparison here.
1%. Look, she makes 1% of what those guys make. I guarantee you. Watch.
Oh man. Okay. So this article right here. Okay. So just for reference,
go ahead.
The NBA minimum salary is $925,258. So
almost $1 million.
Yeah. So pretty much a little shy than $1 million.
Like I said.
Okay.
Did I say around 1%?
Yeah. So we're not even going to talk about the WNBA minimum salary, but we're going to talk about one of the top in fact, here it looks like it's the top salary in the WNBA is $195,000. So we're going from the best person in the WNBA to the minimum in the NBA, and it's a $700,000 difference.
Well, now you're looking at, let me see. Now that's her team. Okay. The players that you're looking at. So Candace Parker makes $190,000 base salary for the WNBA. That doesn't include her endorsements. Now with endorsements and so forth, she's probably closer to around $300,000 to $500,000 with endorsements and everything. But her base salary, y'all, is $190,000, and she's been in the league 14, 15 seasons. So think about that, okay? Diana Taurasi, who was just voted the greatest female basketball player of all time, WNBA female basketball player, the number one person. How much is she? What's her base salary?
So she is at $228,000.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and she was voted the GOAT in the WNBA, okay, of all time. This season, she was voted that in a poll. So that should just tell you the discrepancies in reference to what could possibly happen with these gender type situations. These transgender type situations, is not fair. That's why Venus and Serena fought so hard in tennis to try to get the tennis world to see the discrepancy as far as the pay for the same tournaments that the men were playing in, and there was a big discrepancy as far as the salaries. Now that gap is considerably lessened. So if the men make $2 million, the women are making like $1.5 to $1.7 million now, which is great, considering what it was before. They might have been making, $500,000 or something like that in the past.
Right. So Dave, just now I Googled the base salary for WNBA players. A base salary for a WNBA player, 0 to 2 years, is $58,000. If they hit 3 years plus, it's $70,000.
Now,
and it's so crazy because we have people coming out of.
We lived in Delaware, right? Delaware has one of the in the WNBA. They have a Delaware player who's one of the top players in the WNBA. Let's see what her salary is. Elena Deladon. In case people were wondering who I was talking about, one of the top players in the WNBA. Her base salary, 221.
She getting money, so
Yeah,
she's right behind
she's
the other
right.
girl.
Yeah, so she's up there. We actually have two players in the WNBA from Delaware. There's another young lady, Yolanda Laney. I'm sorry, Benaja Laney. Yolanda's her mother.
Oh man, you gotta spell that.
Benaja. I think it's Benijah. Laney. There you go.
Oh, no. So is she related to the other Laneys?
Yolanda.
Okay.
Yeah. Now she.
Oh yeah.
Actually,
got a nice salary.
Yeah, she just started getting that money because the last couple of years she really started playing well. Mm-hmm. So she's at 209. 209,550. So she's up in the top 10. Okay. So, but that's nothing compared to what the base salary is.
I know. And how quickly their salary elevates.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but this is where we are. And that's why I guess there are a lot of people transgender. There's a very good movie, funny movie. It's a B movie, but it's a funny movie. Juwanna Mann. You ever see Juwanna Mann?
Of course, classic.
Yeah. Juwanna Mann, there's so much going on in that movie that tells you a lot about what's going on here and where we're going, okay, with this transgender thing, because everything we just talked about basically went on in that movie.
Yeah, now that I think that movie was ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was.
Because that was a story of, now, of course, anybody with eyes could have told he was a man, but just the fact of how he dominated.
Yeah.
And that's real life.
But even now, if you look at some of these transgender type situations, you would be able to tell if it was a female or a male, that, after they even done the transgendering, because you could tell some of them just have features and whatever the case may be. So like Juwanna Mann, you would still say, hey, something different about this person, and then how they were getting up and down the court and, Juwanna Mann gave herself up because she dunked the basketball, and everybody's just looking at her and say, okay, so.
Well, and I'll tell you, it's funny because my wife will show me some people on Instagram. She'd be like, baby, look at her. I'm like, okay. And she's like, you think she look good? And I'm like, okay, like this right here looks like. And she's like, yeah, that used to be a man. I'm like, okay, like, why are you even gonna show me?
Well, we got celebrities right now,
Oh yeah, dude from Family Matters.
Yeah, and, there's a lot of them out there.
Darius.
Yeah, and then the one from Orange is the New Black. What's her name?
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm talking about Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox.
And they're all dating men.
Yeah, and she's a great actress. So she does a great job.
Yeah, and the debate. And if you didn't know her story, you could be fooled by the way she dresses, and everything.
Be fooled, but
by the way,
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, okay. don't pay attention to the letter right now. But anyway, we're just saying, this look out for this. This is not going away, guys.
No, it's
not going away, and especially with this young lady doing what she's doing, you're going to get she's going to get some breast back sooner or later, from a lot of people.
Well, I think the biggest thing is if she keeps going the way she's going, when she goes to the NCAA championships, she's going to break all the women's records, and she may break a world record. Now, I guarantee you, right now there's a little bit of an uproar.
Yeah.
At NCAA swimming championships,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a big uproar.
Yeah.
If she breaks a world record, because
how old is she?
I don't know.
Okay.
But if she breaks a world record, then it's possible that record will never be broken by a naturally born female ever.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah. Let's see something. I'm trying to see how old she, because I'm thinking to myself about the Olympics, and I'm sure she's going to try to compete in the next Olympics, which is 2024.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And
So
she'll probably be crying for it.
yeah, and
But I mean, as you said before, like the way it's going, the only people on the Olympic team may be, I mean, not to say they may all be transgender. So one thing it did say that they thought would make it fair. So apparently when they go to that gender reassignment surgery, they're supposed to sit out a year while taking like whatever medicine they take.
to try to.
But I mean, I don't know. Like I think a naturally born man will outstrength and outspeed a naturally born female in most sports.
But do you think that she should be swimming with the?
No,
okay.
I mean, no, personally, I don't.
Okay, all right.
And I mean, so that's why I was trying to think. Okay, like what is that other category that kind of evens the playing field? Now, if they had, and I just know for so sometimes I see it in track and swimming and something like they'll have like a mixed relay where it'll be like boys and girls. Like maybe it has to have 2 boys, 2 girls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I could see if there was like a mixed events, but I mean, I just don't see how it's fair. And like if like I think about my daughter, if my daughter was swimming, and let's say she's the best naturally born female, but she's always numbered. I don't know. It's
you're gonna get tired. You're gonna get tired of that.
Yeah, you want to make it fair.
Yeah, and you're gonna definitely say something about it. So
and I always think too is like, okay, when is it going to come to people who are doing the reassignment just to dominate, to get fame? Because I mean, we talk about social media, what people will do to get fame, get money, get publicity. So I mean, and nothing against any females who may be listening.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say allegedly just because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
But I mean, if ladies are doing BBLs to look better and gain popularity and status and all that, and feel better about themselves, then I can see a lot of people who are not now, but maybe doing gender reassignment to dominate certain sports and get that publicity.
But that would be mainly men to female.
Yes.
So what about the female to men?
So I mean, I think that's different because
they won't have that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they'll have that opportunity.
Now, you might have some
excel in it,
but you might have some that are classified tomboys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that maybe go ahead and do that transition so they can play the sports that they really like to play.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we have women football leagues out there. You might have, I'm sure there's a couple of them because there's been a couple of young ladies to play college football that would really want to play football on a regular basis and get into the pros.
Yeah.
So somebody like that might want to do the surgery so that they have the, be able to put on the weight and to be able to do the things that a man would do in the NFL or college or whatever the case may be.
Definitely. Well, and like I'll tell you, even for middle school sports, there's a lot of middle school male sports that women are allowed. Mm-hmm. One of them specifically wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And I definitely heard of football and some other ones. So.
I think there was a transgender wrestler that competed recently too.
Okay.
So that was once a male, but he was now competing against the women. So this is not going away, folks. And we want to make sure that people understand that, it's not going away, and we're going to have to keep an eye on this to see what's going to happen with this story and other stories like it. You are listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn, and we thank you for tuning in and listening. If you have any comments on anything that we said so far, feel free to put it in our comment section, and we can take a look at it and see what's happening. We're going to move on with our next story at this time. Since we're on the subject of sports, I'm going to talk about the news that came out yesterday on, some people are calling it Black Monday, where 37 NFL football players tested positive for COVID on one day.
So they must have a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, they had a hell of a weekend, and a lot of these players played in games this weekend. Now, We can't say for sure that all the tests were definitely positive tests because some of them could have been false positives or whatever. But what they have to do is have 2 negative tests within a 48-hour period in order to be able to play the next game, which some would be Thursday, some would be on the week over the weekend on Sunday. Ironically, another person tested positive today, Mr. Odell Beckham, who played for the Los Angeles Rams last night into last night's game. I'm watching him catching passes last night,
Right.
so I know he played because I saw him playing. And today he tested positive, and this thing is really crazy right now with this COVID thing, because the league is saying that the teams are saying that close to 80 to 90% of their teams all say that they have 80 and 90% vaccination rates on their team.
Okay, do you believe that?
How can we? When we got 37 players testing positive on the same day. Some of these teams have 5 or 6 guys out. So, like the Eagles are going to play Washington this weekend. They got 5 guys out.
So I wonder if the people who tested positive were vaccinated. Because, I mean, well, hold on. Isn't there a requirement that every player be vaccinated?
It's a request that all players be vaccinated. That's why not every team has 100%. I think there's only 1 or 2 teams that are fully vaccinated. The Eagles are over 90%.
Okay.
But not every team is 100% vaccinated. Like the Cowboys just had 8, 9, when we last talked, there was 9 people on the Cowboys, between their staff and their coach that had COVID. So when you look at this and you say to yourself, how can this be? You know, and what are these people doing? If they are all true positive tests, what are these people doing that's causing all of this? Who are you coming in contact? Are they all going to Magic City? Are they all hanging out in Atlanta getting wings?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, like it's funny because when you told me, I'm thinking, okay, after the game, we probably going to go party. So it's like, okay, like
think of all the people that guy. If that's a true, just talking about Beckham. Now, like I said, Beckham definitely played last night. I watched him play, and Beckham's a wild boy, you know. So if he decided, and his team won last night. So if he decided, and they're in LA, okay. Well, were they in LA last? Yeah, they were in LA. If he decided, let's go out and party,
right,
and he got a crew with him, and of course I know he's coming in contact with some other people. And he has COVID if he does.
Right.
Think about all the contact tracing that they're going to have to do.
I agree.
Okay. Or just think about all that they had to do. You know, I was watching a basketball game. This was a couple weeks ago. Joel Embiid had COVID for the Sixers. And they had just won a game, and they were all hugging and whatever it is, the last game before he finds out he has COVID, and then all of a sudden it's announced that he has COVID, and I'm wondering if I'm a player.
Yeah, worried.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Wait, hold on. I was hugging that dude. I was doing this. I've been sitting next to him on the bench. You know, he's been sweating. He's been doing all this other stuff. It's crazy right now with all of this that's going on.
Well, I mean, you know, it's funny you say it because that was the first thing I thought about just now when you talked about it. I'm like, okay, if all of these players have COVID, I'm sure they spread it to their teammates. You know? So, I mean, like, even though we're going into the end of this week where they'll probably retest, 24 hours apart.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are going to be some other players who pop up with the symptoms and test positive.
I'm sure there is because that's probably how Beckham got found out.
Now, how often do you think they're testing them?
Well, they're testing them every week.
Just once a week?
I think some teams, the teams that have people that aren't vaccinated, they get tested twice a week. Okay. I think I read, and then the other guys are being tested once a week, and especially if they've come in contact with somebody that has COVID. And then, like I said, they have to have 2 negative tests within 48 hours to be able to play in that next game. Wow. So there's a lot of scrambling that's going to be happening, and especially for those that have a short week where they play on Thursday. You know, that that they have to get their team and make sure that they know who's going to be playing that week.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'm sure that probably makes it hard because that's some last minute switching up plays, switching up positions.
Just think if you lose your quarterback during that time,
Yeah.
and your quarterback is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and and your backup hasn't played a game all season, and you got to put your backup out there. So that makes all the difference in the world as far as that's concerned. So we got to make sure that, you know, we're paying attention to everything leading into what's going on with these players. Now, on top of that, the stadiums that all of these players are playing in, now there's, especially in these large cities, Los Angeles has already done it. We can already talk about Philadelphia. Now you have to show your vaccination card to get into these stadiums now, and especially when you're going around to all the different restaurants and the eateries, you got to show your vaccination card to even get into these places now, and you have to be fully vaccinated. Don't necessarily have to have your booster, but as long as you're fully vaccinated with some type of vaccination, Moderna, Johnson, or Pfizer, you have to show that card that says that you can come into that venue.
And to be honest, I'm not mad at that at all. One thing I was thinking too, I just want to get your opinion, and this may be devil's advocate. Why are they testing these players the day after the game instead of the day before the game?
Because they probably came in contact with somebody else because the Rams had a couple guys that came out positive. So
prior to the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they didn't play last night.
Gotcha. Okay.
They didn't play last night, and they know they tested players to make sure they might have been hanging around those guys, so they tested the whole team.
Right.
So the day this guy came back,
okay. Gotcha.
That's what happened. You know, so that's the reason that it happened. But, you know, now with people going in the stadium, because I don't know if you guys watch and see how packed some of these places are. And a college game, oh my God, these college stadiums.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was watching
and probably no mask.
No mask. When they scan the crowds and everything, you never see anybody with a mask on.
Yeah.
You know.
And I was about to say, if you know, like I know in Alabama where they're like anti-mask, and you know I see them at the Alabama-Auburn games on TV, of course. Yeah. I'm just like, Jesus, like
those
stadiums
hold
festering.
100,000 people. Think about that, and a good percentage of them do not have masks on. Okay, so when you think about that, and you see these, and they're young college students, they're jumping around, they're having a good time, they're drinking. Half of them don't have shirts on, you know, and they're jumping around, they're sweating, you know, it's just a lot going on at these games. And even with the pro games, the same thing's happening. So now it's affecting the eateries and all, you know, so now you're affecting the dollars and cents because not everybody is going to be able to go up and buy food or whatever.
And they're probably already short-staffed anyway because half of all businesses are short-staffed.
And then keep in mind, the owners are losing money too, because if you have season ticket holders who are not vaccinated, okay, they're not coming to the games, and they got to figure out, you know, if they're one of these people that say, I'm not getting vaccination, so cancel my tickets, then, or they sell them to somebody else, you're going to lose those people as ticket holders. So, but of course somebody will jump in, but you know,
I'm sure those waiting lines
are
long.
You know, you might have a couple people who've been doing it forever, coming to the games forever. So, so I'm going to go transition from that because now, with the whole thing about having to be vaccinated, about getting into these stadiums and everything, like the Lincoln Financial Field where the Eagles play, and of course Citizen Bank Park where the Phillies play, Wells Fargo Center where the Eagles play. Now you're getting into a lot of the things that are going on in the city of Philadelphia, city of Los Angeles, some of these other big cities. The mandate just came down for Philadelphia, Los Angeles. You cannot go into a restaurant and eat in the restaurant without showing your vaccination card. You have to be fully vaccinated to eat inside a restaurant now in one of these big cities. And I'm sure it's going to be, a lot of places are going to be following. We're here in Delaware. It hasn't happened here in Delaware yet, But Delaware has basically been following Pennsylvania and Philadelphia area with a lot of stuff. So it is definitely coming, you know. So we did the story last week about the guy that was selling the fake vaccination cards.
Right.
You know, I wonder if he still got a few, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to try to get a hold of him, you know, that, you know.
Well, I mean, he's in jail.
Yeah,
so
he's going to jail.
You have to find another source.
You got to find another source for that, right? But this is the whole thing. How are they going to be able to tell if people are trying to get over? They're going to have a lot of mad people. People going to walk up to the door and say, hey, can I get a seat for two? You got your vaccination card? No, I'm not vaccinated. But I was just here like a couple weeks ago.
Right, not today.
Yeah. And of course that's in some of these cities, that's going to cause a problem. That's how the fight started, you know,
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is where we are, folks. This is the new norm. We're getting ready to go into, you know, the cold of the winter. And of course, a lot of us are going to be indoors or whatever the case may be. But every now and then we're going to want to go out for dinner or whatever the case may be. And you might have one person that's vaccinated and another one that's not. And whoever it is that's with you, and you can get in and the other person can't. So now you got to make a decision. Okay, wait for it. I'll bring you something to the car. You know, something like that.
Yeah. Or I mean, to be honest, those people just know they can't go.
They can't go.
It's almost like when you're coming up and you know that you can't get into the club unless you're 21.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
You may try to sneak. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people try to sneak in, but, you know, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, you know, if you're not vaccinated, you will not be able to make it in.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I'm not mad. You know, I think that needs to be done. Of course, you know, not everybody is going to like it, but I mean, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, I was looking at this story and I was saying to myself, oh man, here we go. Now, Philadelphia's already going through a lot right now with all that's going on in Philadelphia and leading the nation and shootings and so forth. I wonder how much this increases the attitudes and everything. And especially now, you know, as an older adult, you know, when we're told no, we kind of, you know, we kind of can handle it.
Some of y'all.
Some of us, yeah. Some
not,
of us.
Not all of y'all.
Yeah.
We done seen the videos on Instagram.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, look, did you see the fight up there and did you see the
No.
I
did not get a chance to look at it.
Yeah, well, you know, he's something kidding about the older folks. I was telling Leonard about a story that happened last week with up at the Harris Hotel up in New Jersey in Atlantic City, where a group of guys who were realtors and mortgage brokers got into this Donnybrook of a fight. And that's an old term there for some of you young folks out there. That they were throwing haymakers, man. I mean, this one dude, did you see the video?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm trying to bring it up now.
Okay.
Of course,
they bring it up.
They got the commercial in front of them.
Yeah, but it was crazy. When you see this thing, this one dude, man, knocks this guy out. He hits this dude so hard. Well, you'll see it in a minute. I mean, and then there's a guy with a chair, and he's hitting people with this chair, and they got suits on and everything, and it's not just and it's all different colors in this room, you know.
Right. So security didn't come up, and
security was there,
but they were just slow.
They were probably unbelievable. They probably saying, "Wait, is this really happening?" You know,
they're probably like, we don't get paid.
We don't get paid for all this, and you know, but it was just crazy. So yeah, when older people, it's not always just the young people, because people don't like to be told no. But when you see something like this that happens, and of course, you know, even with the casinos and everything, you know, if you're not vaccinated, you can't get into these places either. And you know, some people spend their whole lives in these casinos. I go to Delaware Park very rarely. When I go into Delaware Park, I don't even go there to gamble. I go there to listen to the entertainment and so forth. I see certain people there every time I go there. I see the same people every time I go there. And I'll be saying, do you ever go home? You know, it's amazing to me. So if those people who've been going there for years are not vaccinated and they can't get in now, what do? They're gonna have to make up a system. Okay, Leonard.
Yeah.
Leonard just pulled up the video for the fight in Atlantic City.
And it's so funny because you see the ladies trying to.
Yeah, see that guy got suit. He got a suit jacket on. And they all do. Yeah, they all do. And
security don't.
Yeah,
you don't know what to do.
This guy is beating this poor guy to death. Look, they're stumping people and everything in there.
They'll definitely get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. And you saw that first punch, right? Where the guy hit the guy and knocked him to the floor?
I did.
Yeah.
In fact, he didn't just knock him to the floor. He did a superhero punch, and the guy slid back on the floor. So.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
It was at the Realtors Triple Play Convention.
There you go. And it was an icebreaker reception in the Palladium Ballroom at Caesars.
All right, so do you cancel that conference right there?
I won't have those people back again. I can tell you that now.
That is crazy.
You know, and they wasn't no young people.
Mm-mm.
Look, watch again.
Yeah, he did.
He hit that dude so hard, man.
And you know,
and then this guy's back here hitting people with the chair.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because it looked like he sucker punched that guy too, because he's standing.
The guy had his face turned. You know, so he didn't even see it coming. And all you see in the background is people with their phones out recording this. People, look,
and
what?
like, he can't even stand. He's like,
oh man,
yeah,
that's crazy.
That was dirty.
Yeah, that was dirty. I saw that when I saw that, I was just like, my mouth just dropped open. And this guy tried not to get hit this filming. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but this is the world that we're living in. So, you know, when you tell somebody no with this whole vaccine thing, there's a potential for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even when we think about it, like I remember when everything first started, you remember there were a lot of issues with people wearing masks. One of them that I think specifically is an incident in Detroit, and there was somebody trying to get into a club or a bar lounge. They got into it regarding because they did not want to wear their mask, and they shot the security officer. It was a big story last year when it first started. So, you know, it's crazy because everywhere where I feel like masks are mandatory is where violence has gone up. The number one place, and I mean, I didn't even know there's so much violence at the airport, but you know, the airport and like on the airplane, you know, and it's so crazy because if you know masks are required on the airplane, why is it even an issue? You know,
because you always got
crazy.
somebody that thinks they're better, you know, and that wants to buck the system. It's just like if you put on a sign, if you're having an event, and as a promoter, you know, specifically put things on a flyer and a poster or whatever the case may be, and or on a message that I send out, and I say this is required, and you show up without it, and you're going to get mad at me because I won't let you in,
right?
Okay, what kind of mess is that? You know, that makes no sense. You know, but that's where we are in the world today. So hopefully, you know, with these new mandates coming down, and like I said, Delaware, it's coming. Just letting you know. So, you know, make sure if you are people who are vaccinated or people that aren't vaccinated, just make sure you pay attention to what's being told to you, because don't go into a place and want to get an attitude because they tell you can't come in if you don't have your card or you're not vaccinated. That's what I'm going to say. If you don't have your card or you're not vaccinated.
And, you know,
best thing to do, I have mine on my phone. I took pictures of it. Yeah, I took pictures of it, and I have mine on my phone. So just for that reason, in case I did leave my card home or something like that, I can show. And they are, you know, they said if you have it on your phone, you know, and it has your name and everything on it. That's another thing because they had to be able to see the name.
Well, they also said you got to have your ID with it so they can match it up.
Yeah, there you go. So that's
and you know, even one thing I would say, and even for anyone who's not vaccinated, just expect the unexpected. Like anywhere you go, because even though a lot of places it's like the city, state, or maybe city, state, or county regulation, individual businesses can impose that anyway, you know, as long as they're not breaking any laws. So, I mean, even, you know, if I'm in Florida and if I'm in Miami and, you know, I think it's good to go because they don't have a city mandate, it's possible that a business there may have a mandate that,
And you have to respect that.
Well, hold on. So I can see them requiring the mask. Can they require you to be vaccinated and check it?
No, not if there's not a mandate there. I mean, of course, people can comply if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the mask thing, that's a preference thing. But when you come to these mandates, that's a whole different story.
Right.
Because people are going to challenge you on that. So, but we'll see what happens. The world is watching, y'all. The world is watching. You are listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're talking about so far. If you have anything to say, please feel free to make a comment or two in reference to that, and we will definitely try to make sure we reach back out to you for what you put down. I'm going to go into this next story. This is a what would you do type thing, guys. And this is for both the men and the women. But I'm going to rehash a story that was popular a couple years ago that really truly happened. It actually happened back in 2017. But it's kind of worked its way back up in the news again recently. And it's kind of an interesting situation, and I wanted to bring it up to my partner to see how most people would probably handle it today, because 2017 wasn't that long ago, but now so many things have happened since 2017. Would the situation still be the same way? So this is the situation. There was a young lady, her name was Bree, who
Allegedly,
okay. But if you look up the story, you're gonna see that name. Anyway, the young lady and her boyfriend, she had a boyfriend who they were they were a good couple and whatever, but they were going through some things or whatever. She decided, she wanted to have a talk about some of the things that was going on, but when they were getting ready to talk, the boyfriend gets a phone call on a text message, and he gets up to make a phone call, and he gets this call, and he's taking the call privately, and then comes back, and he's all distraught, and he even starts crying and so forth, and he tells the girlfriend that it's his mother. His mother's not doing too well. She's had some medical issues, and that he needed to go see her because he wasn't sure what was going on, and he needed to get on the next plane smoking. So he starts looking up flights and whatever, and he finds a flight. He said he was going to New York. That's where he was going, and he books the flight, and the girlfriend said, "Hey, I understand. Do you want me to come with you?" And he said, "Nah, I should be all right." So forth. They end up spending the night together. She's comforting him and so forth and so forth. Next day he gets up and he drives himself to the airport. That's the last time she sees him. And he said he'd be back in a couple of days, whatever the case may be. So she's concerned and whatever. She's all right. She's all right thinking about him and so forth. And then,
and I'm about to say real quick, we found her page on Instagram.
Yeah, she has an Instagram page. And ladies and gentlemen, she is not a bad looking girl. She's and of course the story has caused new fame for her, I'm sure, and she has. Because I know she was on a couple talk shows and so forth. So she became pretty popular, and a lot of guys started trying to hit her up, or whatever the case may be. But so that next day, she also just started doing Uber, and she gets an Uber. She said, "I'm gonna do Uber today," because she had a couple different jobs. She said, "I'm gonna do Uber." Try to get her mind off of what was going on with her and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend's mom and so forth. And she turns on her Uber thing, and she gets a fare right away. And she had to go to the airport where she had her boyfriend had just went to, and she goes and picks up a fare, young lady, who gets in her car, and then the young lady gets in the car. She's all excited, said, so she starts driving to the address. And the lady was really talking about this was her first time in town, and she was going to visit her man and all of this stuff. It's been so long since she's seen him and all this kind of stuff. This was her first time coming here. Apparently he had been to see her. So she's driving and she's listening, and the whole time the girl is talking, she's missing her guy because her guy's out of town, but she's talking back and forth with her. So the drive's about 15 minutes. They finally get to the area where the person lives, and so the driver gets a concerned look on her face because she recognized the area, and it's the same area where her boyfriend lives. Okay, so she just said, "What a coincidence." So she didn't say anything to the girl about she knew the area. So she said, "Well, you know what building he lives in? It's an apartment complex. You know what building he lives in?" And the girl said, "Well, I'm not sure, but let me, because I've never been here before." So she's fumbling around trying to find the exact apartment, and she finally gets it. And so they drive around, and as she drives around, she's saying, "Well, this is like right where my man lives, But she didn't think anything of it because there's other units there, until she gets around the corner and she sees his car. And his car is there. And make a long story short, she pulls up to the place after she gets to it, and out walks her boyfriend walking to the car because the girl just texted her to come get her bags, help her with her bags. And the boyfriend walks out to the car. He gets halfway to the car and he sees his girlfriend driving the Uber. And takes off running back to the house. And the girlfriend jumps out of the car. "Oh, no, you don't." And she starts fussing with him and hitting him and whatever. Now, think about this, guys. And I'm going to say females, too. This is a aha moment, so forth and so forth. Now, and keep in mind, she jumps out the car. The fare is still in the car. All right? The fare gets out of the car and starts beating on her because she's hitting her man. Instead of taking sides with her and saying, "Oh, so this is what we're doing? You're cheating on both of us?" And so the question is, what happens here? How do you handle this situation?
So I'd just like to lead off by saying allegedly, but so I mean, that's definitely a hard situation. I think if you're the girl, or like the role the girl had in this story, I think you're going to do exactly what she did, because I think there's going to be some rage. Like I'm looking at the article, and I'm looking at her words, and she says his dumb ass couldn't beat me to the door before I started beating his ass.
Yeah.
So
she got to him.
So I mean, a lot of times we see in movies and stuff like rage and people do stuff without thinking. Mm-hmm. I could see this being something where you kind of act and you don't think about, you just kind of get out.
You read in the article, she said she lost it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
And thank God she didn't have a weapon or anything,
right.
So
it might have been over.
It might have been over for him.
In fact, his grandma might not have been the only one in the hospital.
That was mother. Yeah,
his mother.
Yeah.
So I mean, hard to tell. Now, if you're the guy, whew, I mean, to be honest, I think it's just one of them situations where you just give it up. You just let it go. Like, I mean, there's some stuff you can't deny. And, just being in the act like that, there's nothing you can say or do to make that situation better. But I think what you have to do right there, you have to make a decision which way you're going to go. Either you're going to let the one walk away, or you're going to try to, keep your girl.
Well, he tried to have his cake and eat it too, because there's a couple of articles out there. I don't see it on this one, but there's text messages from him after the whole incident goes down, and he clearly is trying to get the driver back, and she's just playing along. See, another thing that happened also was the fare left her bags in the driver's car. So when the driver left, she had her bags and everything. And so he hit her up, kept trying to get her to bring the bags back, and she kept saying, "What bags? I don't know. There's a nice pair of glasses in here, though. I think I'm going to keep these. They look good on me." But she said, "I don't know anything about any bags." And then she showed back up, and she had a plastic bag with some trash in it. She said, "Were you talking about this? That's the only bags I see in the car, you know." And so, of course, but then there's text messages from him that you can see allegedly from him that he's trying to get her back, said it was a dumb move. I was just bored, so forth and so forth. Please take me back. Please talk to me. And she has nothing, she just totally blowing him off. But it's just interesting how he thought that he could even come back from that when it's clear that what the situation was. Leonard's looking at the what you call, let me see. When you read the article, it's hysterical what happens when he actually sees her in the car and he tries to take off running, and I mean, she was really getting ready to hurt him. But I think if you go down, you'll see the text messages. I just wanted to see. Oh, they're not there.
Yeah, they're not in this one.
Okay. But it's just interesting that this guy is really spending all this time and energy trying to get this woman back. And it's just not, she's like, you think I'm coming back to you? You crazy.
She's done. And anyone listening, you can see the article. It's on ebony.com.
Yeah.
And if you Google Uber Bay dating infidelity, it'll probably come up. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely crazy.
Yeah, it's a situation because when you look at it nowadays online, you can be anybody you want to be. Instagram just celebrated, what was that? Today they were talking about how they reached a certain amount of
subscribers.
Yeah, subscribers.
Oh, wow.
And it was announced today, that they just set a record for the number of subscribers that they had. And when you go on Instagram, there was a guy yesterday. I listen to Steve Harvey in the morning, and they do the strawberry letter where Steve always gives advice or whatever. It's really funny half the time. But there was yesterday's strawberry letter was about a husband and wife, and the wife was saying that the husband has followed 938 Instagram models, right? And that's all he does all day long is spend time looking at these pictures and everything that they sent. Now, Instagram, Leonard to tell you guys, I stayed off of Instagram for years.
But you're on now.
But if you look at my profile, it ain't much in my profile because I'm on there just for business reasons, but, don't even try. But for business reasons, but just the attention that you get just signing on. I must have had like 5 or 6 models hit me up right away. Hey, how you doing? And all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't have a picture up. I don't have anything up.
Spammers.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Spammers and
trying to get, and they got everything down to a T trying to get your money out of you. Yeah. You ever ask, I was talking to this one person one time and they said, they were up there talking. I just wanted to see how far it would go before I realized before they asked me for money somehow. Mm-hmm. And they said, we're talking. And then they said, my birthday is tomorrow. And I started laughing. Right. I said, yeah, mine is too. I said, mine is tomorrow too. What you going to get me? And they got real quiet. I didn't hear from them again after that, so because that's usually the code because you know what they're doing, so, but this guy had 938 people that he was following. So, but this is the world that we live in, guys. It's so easy to be able to do, and that, I'm not just talking about men. I'm talking about females too.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm talking about females because if you look at Instagram, it's a female social media page, really. If you look at it, most of the people on there that are making the money on there are mostly the females that are making it. And they're changing their looks to be able to make the money.
Yeah. Well, kind of like we talked about the whole transgender thing. People are changing themselves to be what they want to be
because they realize,
for different reasons.
They realize that they have to look a certain way to be able to get any paper, any type of notoriety, or whatever the case may be. And, and a lot of it is so obvious what they're doing, so. But I'm just saying, I just brought that story up because I saw it pop back up recently, and it was just, I know a lot of people have been in situations where people have gotten caught in little situations where I know in the past it's happened to me. I understand. So and not necessarily I was cheating or anything, but it's just interesting how you could think that no one's going to see you doing something, but somebody always sees you doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, so think about the possibility, folks. Uber fare happening. Uber contacts you and say, "Hey, we got a fare for you," and this the girl who's dating your man. Think about the possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
unbelievable, right? Unbelievable,
so
right?
Somebody's destiny was met that night.
Right, right. I mean, this is movie stuff right here, so I wonder if they'll make a movie about it, so think about it. So, but anyway, we're going to leave it there. If you guys have any opinions about that, you can put it in the chat and we can get back to you at some point. But, we want to say, thank you because our time is here. Where are we?
Way over.
We had so much fun talking today. We went way over a time, but we want to thank you guys for listening. And Len, you have anything you want to add?
Nope. Make sure you follow us on all podcast platforms, specifically Podbean. Make sure if you're listening to this, just drop us a comment. If there's any topics you'd like us to cover, let us know. Follow us on Facebook at Newz and Trendz. And other than that, we hope you have a good week. We know Christmas is coming up. Don't go broke.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we got one more show before Christmas anyway.
Don't go broke trying to make them kids happy. Yeah. The more you do, the less they appreciate.
There you go. So, but I want to say thank you for tuning in. This is Dave Coker, and we got Leonard Young here, and we're going to say good night.
Join us next week for another edition of Newz and Trendz with your host,